Hey guys, Julie here, embodied healing coach helping burnt out women suffering from chronic pain heal so they can have a soft and joyous life free of chronic pain. I'm back today because I wanted to talk about something that is very special to me. I wanted to share with you guys how losing myself, ended my chronic pain. It cured my chronic pain. And what I mean by losing myself, I had talked earlier about the common personality traits that lead you to chronic pain: the people pleasers, the ones that can't speak up for themselves, the ones that don't say no, the ones that don't rest, the superwoman complex. The list goes on and on. I was that. At some point in my life, I was all of those personalities, if not all at the same time. And it is what led me to my health declining. And in order for me to cure my chronic pain, I had to lose myself. I had to lose all of those identities that I found comfort in. And it was not an easy task. It is something that will make you shed so many layers of yourself that you will end up butt naked. But you will end up in a version of yourself that you were always meant to be. You will end up the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. Somebody who values themselves, somebody who puts themselves first, somebody who allows others to do for themselves, somebody who has self-worth and self-love. And that is what is there underneath all of us if we do the work. And I often talk to women specifically. I mean, men do have chronic pain, but it's mostly women who suffer with the migraines and the back and the neck pain, the knee pain, the endometriosis, the fibroids, the gut issues, gallbladder stones, kidney stones, chronic fatigue, bad headaches, like I mentioned, severe migraines, nerve pain. It's usually us who deal with these things because we're the ones who tend to be the people pleasers, tend to be the ones that don't say no, tend to be the ones who don't set boundaries or can't maintain boundaries once we finally set them, are the ones who are always trying to keep the family together or keep the peace or make everybody else happy. And when I talk to these women about their chronic pain and I tell them what is causing this chronic pain, a lot of them are like stunned, right? But when I tell them what can end their chronic pain, they feel like it's not going to work for them. They feel like, hold on a second, my dog got. All right, we're back. So back to what I was saying. A lot of times they feel like it's not. I'm reading from my notes because again, I want to stay focused. They feel like it's not gonna work for them. But I always tell them, like, I am where you are now. I was once where you are now. I was who you are now. And it took a lot of work to shed those personality traits, to shed those identities, and to finally get to the core of who I am, which is someone who loves themselves and respects themselves. And the thing about those coping styles that I spoke about, it's what leads you to your health declining. Because you are putting all of your energy on other people and you're forgetting about yourself. You're not showing yourself any love by not resting. You're not showing yourself any love by taking on too much. You're not showing yourself any love by saying yes to everything that everybody asks of you and the demands of the world and not putting up boundaries. And when I tend to break it down to women like that, they're like, wow, that does make a lot of sense, because it is really hard for me to say no. I don't want to disappoint people, or I'm always trying to make everybody happy, or I just want, I just want things to be good all the time. And that comes from a place of trauma. That comes from a lot of childhood things that have happened, where you lean to being that person who tries to control everything and everyone, because it's how you find safety. And it is something hard to break. It is a hard loop to get out of. But when you do the work, and you do the work in a safe space, and you do it with somebody who is safe and who creates a safe environment for you, it becomes that much easier. And when you do it with a group of women who are in a similar situation as you, it becomes that much easier. And those are the kind of things that we do in the Return to Self program. So a lot of times, what these women who are suffering with chronic pain, what they're afraid of is that, number one, the strategies that I use in the Return to Self program, that they're not going to work for them. That it's like, oh yeah, that worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And trust me, I thought the same when I was going through my chronic pain journey, of like, this is not going to work for me. But then I had to switch my mindset and say, okay, what if we, instead of being pessimistic about things, what if we become hopeful? What if? How about if we start with the what if? What if this could work? What if this ends my chronic pain? What if? What would lie on the other side of this? And also, what do I have to lose when I've tried everything else? I feel like that was the biggest one. What do I have to lose when I've tried everything else? And then that became a no-brainer for me, of like, okay, let's give this 100% of our energy and see what happens at the end of it. I said to myself, I'm going to give myself 4 weeks to do the work. I'm going to give myself 4 weeks to journal and dive into my childhood, to see how I became a people pleaser, how I became somebody who couldn't set boundaries, how I became the superwoman of the family, how I became the one who doesn't feel comfortable resting and always needs to be busy. How did I become the one who always needs to control everything and everything needs to be perfect all the time? How did I become the one that feels that they need to save everybody or protect everyone from everything, and I have to bear the brunt of everything? How did I become that person? Because I know that at the end of the day, from all the research that I was doing to see how I could end my chronic pain, it's like, I know that all of these traits get formed in your childhood. So what was it about my childhood that led me down this road? And I became hyper curious. And I said, okay, the only way that I'm going to find out the answers to these questions is to go back in time. And I was able to do that through my unfiltered journaling method, where I journal without a filter, where I journal regardless of what anybody thinks of what I'm putting down on paper, of journaling in a way that is like, kind of like you're vomiting your thoughts and your emotions, regardless of what anybody's going to say. And nobody's going to read it unless you want them to. But sometimes, when we're journaling, we journal with restrictions. Sometimes we're like, oh, I can't write that down because, oh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds mean, or whatever. But you start to journal with an unfiltered lens. And it's amazing what comes down on paper when you do that. And it's amazing how cathartic that can be. And it's amazing that it's amazing, but it's not amazing, because I've always been a journaler, if that's a word. But when I started to see the transformation of the more that I put down on paper, the more that I let my feelings out, the more that I was able to let the rage out, the more that I was able to let the sadness out, the more that I was able to let out all those thoughts and emotions that I had bottled up in my body for so many years that were really causing my chronic pain. The more that I was able to do that, the more that I was able to become vulnerable about it. Hey, mama. The more that I was able to sit in the vulnerability, because as someone who is the superwoman of the family, it was really hard for me to tune into my emotions and become vulnerable, because I was taught to be the strong one. I was taught to be the one that could bear the world on her shoulders and could still stand up straight. I was taught that as a young girl, that you have to be strong. No matter what happens, you have to deal with it. No matter what happens, you have to solve the problem. No matter who's in trouble, you have to save them. Not saying no, not speaking up for myself. You know, doing all the things that forced me to abandon myself because I was putting other people before me, taking care of everybody else. You know, and all of that pressure, all of those things that continue to mount and compound lead to you with your health at risk. It leads to all these health issues. It leads to migraines. It leads to back pain, neck pain, fibroids, endometriosis. It leads to inflammation. It leads to back pain, knee pain. It leads to some people, unfortunately, fibromyalgia, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer. All these different things, because the body can only take so much. And if you don't release these emotions from your body, they start to manifest into chronic pain. And then you're thinking, oh, I have a headache here, I have a headache there, I'm going to just take a Tylenol. And after a while, the Tylenol doesn't do anything anymore, because you continue to run your body to the ground. And so your body's trying to communicate to you to tell you you need to stop, but you don't listen. So it gives you that hint of like a headache. You don't listen, you keep going. You take medicine, it works for a little bit, but then after a while, it doesn't work anymore. So now that headache becomes a migraine. And now you're suffering in bed because you can't get out of your bed because it hurts so much. But this is the way that the body communicates to you, to let you know that it needs a break, to let you know that you're doing too much. But because of life demands and the way that a lot of us have been raised, we don't listen to our body. And some of us are in survival mode, or, you know, running around like a chicken without a head, that we don't quiet ourselves enough to listen to our body, to those little cues that it's giving us. And another thing that women are afraid of when it comes to doing this type of work to end your chronic pain of going within is, one of the things that I tell them is, you're going to lose things in your life when you go down this path to try to end your chronic pain. And you have to be ready for that. And what do I mean by lose things? You're going to lose, for some people, you're going to lose a spouse, you're going to lose a partner, you're going to lose a job, you're going to lose friendships. Because when you're doing this work, you're shedding all of those layers of who you thought you were to get to the core of who you really are. And there's been a lot of people who have benefited from you not from you not setting boundaries, for you not saying no, for you being the fixer of the family, the superwoman of the family, for you taking on too much. There have been people who have benefited from that. And when you start to do the work of ending those patterns that have gotten you to your health declining, there's going to be people who are not going to like that, because the old you benefited them. And this new version of you is not going to benefit them. So there's going to be people who are going to walk out of your life. And a lot of times the women that I work with are not ready for that. Sometimes they're comfortable in the chaos. They're uncomfortable in the pain, but they're comfortable in the chaos that caused the pain. They're comfortable in the chaos that caused the pain. They're not comfortable in the pain, but they're comfortable in the chaos that caused the pain. And a lot of women don't want to sacrifice relationships for their own health, to benefit their health. They rather stay in these patterns and in these types of relationships, including jobs that do not benefit them or their health, than to make the change. So it is going to need for you to be brave, to step into the unknown, to step into something that's very unfamiliar for you. But that is the way that you're going to end the chronic pain, end your body from turning on you. Because that's what chronic pain feels like. It feels like your body is turning on you, and you don't recognize yourself because the pain inhibits you, or inhibits you, is that the word? You know what I'm trying to say. Inhibits you from the life, from doing the things that you used to do, from the life that you used to have before the chronic pain. There's been women who have divorced. There's been women who have, ended long ass careers because the careers were causing their health to go down the hill, because they would work so many hours and they became that person everybody went to, and the one who always wanted to please everybody and said yes to the extra work, the extra hours. Meanwhile, their body's breaking down on them. So a lot of times I ask these women, like, okay, what is it that you have to lose? If you don't change the trajectory of where you're going, your chronic pain is going to turn into chronic illness. It just is. And if you don't believe me, do your research. It just is. It's going to turn into chronic illness. And so you have to ask yourself, who's most important? Is it me or is it everyone else? For you to make the decision of, I have to put an end to this. I have to make my health a priority if I want to live a life that is soft and joyous again. Or not even again, because a lot of times we've never experienced that, because we've been in survival mode for so long. We've been in fight or flight for so long. So it's going to take for you to ask yourself, is it going to be me or is it going to be them? Am I willing to lose people to gain myself? Because it is a complete shedding, the process of ending your chronic pain. It is a shedding of who you once were, to get you to become that people pleaser, the one with no boundaries, the one who can't say no, the one who wants to save everybody, the one who needs to control everything, the perfectionist, the one who doesn't express her emotions, the one who's everybody's go-to person, the one who picks up the phone whenever anyone calls them. Like, it's going to be a shedding of all of those identities, where you have to learn how to set boundaries, and not only set them, but maintain them. So when you're in this cycle of chronic pain, like, you already know what inaction looks like. You already know that, because you're living it. You're living it. And you have to understand what it's gonna take for you to create a brand new life for yourself. And you don't even have to understand it. I'm gonna take that back. You don't have to understand it, but you have to have some sort of hope that there is something else out there for you. But it takes for you to make a decision of, do I want to continue living a life of chronic pain where I'm miserable and I can't do the things I once loved to do? because of all these symptoms that I'm experiencing, because my body's breaking down on me? Or am I going to do something hella scary that's going to most likely put me in a place where I'm losing friendships, I'm losing a partner, possibly a spouse, possibly jobs, friends, career, but I'm gaining myself. I'm gaining who I am truly supposed to be. Somebody who loves herself, somebody who has self-worth, somebody who doesn't abandon herself for other people. And you have to be ready to make that decision, and you have to be ready to understand that your health is everything. Because without your health, you have nothing. You could have a bank account full of money. You could have the best, you could be the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, but what is it worth if you don't have your health? Like, look at Steve Jobs. What is the point of it all if you don't have your health? And that never really sank in for me until my health declined. Because I would hear people say that, and I'm like, whatever, because I wasn't experiencing any symptoms at the time. But once my health went downhill, I truly understood what that meant. Of like, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And it's a big eye opener. It's like a slap in the face of like, you have to wake up and see what you're doing to your body by neglecting it. You have to understand that your body is and should be the main priority. So when you don't tend to your health, and when you don't put your body first, like when you don't make those a priority, the cost is high. And it could be material wise, like financially, with all the medical visits and co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance, money on medicine, money on getting to and from the doctor's office. And that's just financial, which to me, yes, it is hard to deal with. But for me, the hardest part of it all was the emotional toll that it took on my mental health, on who I thought I was, on the feeling of hopelessness of like, fuck, is this gonna be my life for the rest of my life, where my life has to revolve around the anxious thought of, am I gonna have a pain flare up that's going to get in the way of me having brunch with my girls, or going to that event, or showing up for my business, or going out to dinner with my husband, or spending time with my kids. Like like, really? Is this what my life is going to be from now on? When I went from somebody who was super active, somebody who loved to walk, somebody who loved to be outside, somebody who was, a person who just really didn't stay still a lot of times, which I know caused a lot of this chronic pain. But what I'm trying to say, somebody who was super independent, to now somebody whose life revolves around, wait, I don't know if I could do that because that might give me a flare up. Or maybe I might have to cancel plans, or I might have to cut this short because I know that I'm going to get a migraine. So it's like you have to learn to adapt to this new version of your life that doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. And, sometimes people like, I just want to be who I used to be. But when you start doing this work, you realize that who you used to be is what got you to the chronic pain and what got you to your health going downhill. So what this program does, Return to Self, is it allows you to shed all the layers of the choices that you've made to get you to your health declining, to now get you to this new version of yourself who honors herself, who loves herself, who puts herself before other people. So you are like, it's like a relearning of who you were truly at the core of who you are. But because all those tendencies and personality traits just layer upon layer upon layer just overshadowed who you really were, the people pleasing, the person with no boundaries, the savior of the family, the superwoman of the family, the one who doesn't express her emotions, the one whose throat gets so like whenever you need to set a boundary, or whenever you need to say no, whenever you dishonor yourself, when your body is your body's screaming at you, I don't want to do that. You don't even want to do it, but somebody's asking you and you don't want to let them down, so you say yes when you really want to say no. But you can't say no, so you say yes. And now you have another thing on your plate when your plate was already full. And then we wonder why our health is in the fucking toilet. Then we wonder why we have the migraines. We wonder why we have the back pain, the neck pain, the chronic fatigue, that you could sleep the whole weekend. Come Monday, you wake up and you're exhausted like if you didn't sleep at all. The gallbladder stones, the IBS, the fibroids, the endometriosis, the kidney stones, like the heavy ass periods, like all that is not normal. And sometimes we think it's normal too, especially when other women in the family have had those similar symptoms. We're like, oh, well, my mom or my tia or my aunt or whoever, so this is just the way life is supposed to be. But then you look at your aunt, your mother, or whoever, and they are exactly how you are now, or you weren't, how they are exactly just like you. So no wonder they were experiencing the same symptoms. So when I tell women, imagine your life being soft. And I know that that's like a trendy thing of the soft life, the soft life, the soft life, the soft life. It's very trending. I see it on TikTok, on Instagram, the soft life, the soft life. But the soft life is not just about having like a slow morning, the journaling, the meditation, and all of that. You can't have that consistently if you're somebody with a dysregulated nervous system. Because a dysregulated nervous system is what caused you to have chronic pain and to have a chronic illness. It's a dysregulated nervous system. All the years of rushing, all the years of piling on, all the things on your to-do list, all the years of you taking on too much, all of the years of you, like when I think back to my my oldest is gonna be 30 and my youngest is 13. When I think back to the past 30 years, and now that I've been on this journey and I'm so much more aware because I'm wiser, because my chronic pain gave me so much wisdom, it's like I now see how I got here. And to be honest, I don't even know how the hell I'm still standing. Because of all the things that I piled onto my body, of the commuting 2 hours a day with the kids, of the constant parent-teacher conferences, the dropping the kids off, the hella stressful jobs that I always had in human resources. And if anybody's in HR, HR is like a fucking death sentence to people who deal with anxiety. Because you're always in the future. You're always planning for the worst. Hoping for the best, planning for the worst. putting too many things on my plate, not resting, filling up my calendar till it couldn't get filled anymore, having back-to-back appointments, then dealing with the kids, and like I said, a stressful job, the commuting, and then I would get like pain in my shoulders, and I thought it was just because I was carrying my son in one of those carrier things, because he was born huge, and he was always huge. Now he's like this skinny, but he was a huge baby, and I thought it was just because he's big, and it's just putting a strain on my shoulders. But when you do research on shoulder pain, what it really means is the pain of you holding the world on your shoulders, meaning it's too much pressure. And I thought it was because of me carrying him in the carrier, or lugging that huge ass stroller up and down the subway in the city with him in it and with my daughter like holding on, and just the hustle and bustle of New York City of like with kids. It's a lot. And then dealing with, mental health and anxiety, stress, depression, being a sister, being a daughter, being a wife, being a mom, being a friend. Like, it can be so taxing. Not having time for yourself, not making time for yourself, not resting, not taking a break. I remember whenever, God forbid, I had a break, it felt so uncomfortable to rest. I felt guilty resting, because growing up, I never saw my mother rest. So to me, it was very unfamiliar territory, and I always felt guilty resting. I was not comfortable delegating to people. I was not comfortable asking for help. It was not comfortable for me. Even with Robert, my husband, like, he would be like, "Oh no, I'll feed the baby," and I'm like, "No, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll nurse him. I got it." Meanwhile, I'm exhausted. But because I'm thinking that I need to do it all, it literally got to the point that he just wouldn't even ask anymore. And then I'd complain, be like, "I'm so tired." And he's like, "But every time I try to ask if you're like, no. So he's like, "Why am I going to keep asking you?" So now with this journey that I was on with chronic pain, and like asking for help and accepting help, it was a huge shift in my marriage. Because Robert had to get used to that. He was hyper used to me being so independent and not needing help from him. Whereas now, I'm always asking him for help. And he's still getting used to it. But I told him, I said, "Look, this is going to be our new reality of things balancing out more." Because before my chronic pain, most of the pressure was always on me. Because again, I'm trying to protect people. I'm trying to like keep the peace. I'm trying to, do all the things. And it's like, no, because look at where that got you. So now it's like, "Oh, babe, can you do this? Oh, babe, I need you to do that." And in the beginning, he's like, "What the hell?" But I'm like, this is our new reality of what it's going to take for me to stay pain-free. Where I don't take on the world. I'm not Superwoman. I'm not the go-to person for the kids anymore. I'm not their default go-to person. It's like, no, you have a father and you can reach out to your father too. It's of me saying no to them more. Of like, no, you can do that yourself. I'll show you how to do it now. And moving forward, you could do it yourself because you're a teenager now. I no longer need to be cooking for you. I no longer need to be, reminding you of the things you need to do. No. Because I had to learn that was also I was making it a disservice for them. Because at the end of the day, they're going to have to move out the house. And if I can't make them self-sufficient, then that's a disservice to them. And I had to sit with that reality of like, there's a lot of things that you just have to let them unfold and let the pieces fall where they may fall. You can't control everything. You can't have your hands in everything and then be shocked when you're exhausted. And these are a lot of the changes that I always tell women, you know, when they reach out about working together on how to end this chronic pain. Is like, are you ready to make those changes? Because a lot of times women are so comfortable in the chaos that they rather live in the chaos than step into the unknown, knowing that the unknown is what's going to get them to being pain-free, because they're just stifled with fear. They don't want to lose their spouse. They don't want to lose their partner. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose friendships. But a lot of times, so many of us are in jobs that we hate. And that is not doing anything good for our nervous system. And I'm not saying go quit your job today. No, but you can like start seeing what else is out there. Just as a starting point of what else is out there that's going to be a positive for your nervous system instead of a negative. And so in the Return to Self program, we talk about, we go through that unfiltered journaling method where we get all of those, like we go back in time and we deal with the trauma of how you got to the chronic pain, of what it was that in your childhood that made you be so comfortable in not having boundaries, not speaking up for yourself, being the superwoman in the family, the one who takes on everything. We go back in time to see how you got there. What was it in your childhood that made you think that that was okay and the way to be? And a lot of times we'll notice that it's a pattern in the family. It's like, it's a generational thing. You know, it's very common in our culture that that's how the women are. And then with the unfiltered journaling, it's a mind, body, spirit thing of how we get to ending the chronic pain in the Return to Self program. It's the unfiltered journaling, which is all about the mind, right? And then the body is through the slow feminine style movements that are going to do the integration for you. Because in order, why are they slowing so down? Because in order for your nervous system to stay regulated, because we have to get it out of fight or flight, which is the dysregulated nervous system, into the parasympathetic, which is the slow and steady. We have to also incorporate slow and steady body movements, feminine style movements, to integrate the change in your body. Which and then it's going to allow you to calm down your nervous system, which is the spirit portion of the mind, body, spirit technique. So if this is speaking to you and you're somebody who's dealing with chronic pain and you're ready for a change, you're ready to get to meet the person that you've always been, but she just kind of got lost in the motion of life, click the link in my bio to schedule a call to apply for the Return to Self program. Enrollment ends March 14th. We start on the 25th of March. And it is possible for you to end your chronic pain, regardless of what the doctors are telling you. I am a testament to that. Regardless of what the doctors are telling you, it is possible for you to end your chronic pain. It is possible for you to live a life that does not involve chronic pain, where you no longer have to take medicine. You no longer have to do PT. You no longer need cortisone shots. You no longer need another MRI, another CAT scan, another EMG test, to see another specialist, to see another doctor, to be on the phone with your insurance company trying to figure out why the bill is so high, dipping into your savings to pay off all these medical bills, when instead you could be using that money for something that speaks to your passion instead. And like I mentioned, a lot of times people think, oh, well, this is not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me. It will work for you. You have to just be brave enough to do the work and brave enough to step into the past, to heal the past, so that you can live a future of not having to deal with chronic pain. And it is possible for you, because I thought the same thing too. I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's not gonna work for me, da, 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 da. But sometimes we like default to like the negative, or we default, it's like, but what if? What about the possibility of the what if? What if it works? What would my life be like if it would work? And also, what do I have to lose when I've tried everything else? Because when you deal with chronic pain, you get so desperate that you try everything and anything. And then you get frustrated because nothing works. And that's the path that I had to take in my chronic pain, of trying everything and anything under the sun. And when I started doing my research on how chronic pain manifests in the body because of a dysregulated nervous system, because of trauma stored in the body, and suppressed emotions in the body that cannot escape, they turn into chronic pain and chronic illness. It's like, okay, then how do we combat this holistically, where we don't have to see doctors again? We don't have to rely on the medical system anymore. We can do it in a holistic way. And then I was like, wow. Does that mean that your diagnosis is no longer going to be your diagnosis? No, you will. That is your diagnosis, whatever your diagnosis is. You know, for me, it was neuropathy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't care. The diagnosis is there, but the symptoms are gone. The symptoms are gone. So if you are somebody who's experiencing chronic pain and you're finally ready to live a soft and joyful life free of chronic pain, click the link in the bio to apply for the Return to Self program. The enrollment ends March 14th. We start on the 25th. Or if you know somebody who's dealing with chronic pain, chronic illness, and they're ready for a new life, a life that does not involve chronic pain, where I'm not going to say you can be who you once were, because who you once were is not what you want to go back to, because that's what got you to your chronic pain. You're going to become who you've always meant to be. You're going to get to the core of who you've always been, but because of all the characteristics that you took on, covered up the core of who you are. The people pleasing, the superwoman, the one without the voice, the one who can't say no, the one who doesn't have boundaries, the one who wants to save the world, the fixer, the problem solver, all of that. So click the link in the bio to schedule your call. Like I said, enrollment ends March 14th. We start, hey Pete, thank you. We start March 25th. And if you have any questions, DM me. Leave a comment. Share the live. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.